Hi, everyone. I would like to talk about uh, a major topic in the news, the gas stove. Recently, there was a report um, that indicated that uh, there was a link between asthma and the use of a gas stove. So I would like to look at uh, the report. So I'm going to share my screen. Um, so maybe I showed the wrong screen. Show screen. Am I sharing the screen? Um, what's going Okay, yes. So I found what I was looking for. So there was a study called Population Attribute Fraction of Gas Stove and Childhood Asthma in the United States by Tail Grunwald, Roddy Seals, Luke Nibbs, and Dean Hosgood. Um, so it says that indoor gas stove use for cooking is associated with increased risk of colon asthma. Um, and it's in 35% of households in the United States. Um, and then indoor gas stove use for cooking is associated with an increased risk of colon asthma among children. Um, and uh, it says certain states such as California and Illinois have 68% of gas stoves. So it makes sense that there would be a higher rate of asthma per capita because there's more gas stoves. And it's interesting that California has gas stoves. Um, as they seem to have the most climate friendly policies, and I of course I'm commenting as a Canadian observer. Um, so they found that 12.7% of current childhood asthma in the US is attributable to gas stove use. Um, and then at the state level, the proportion of childhood asthma could theoretically be prevented if gas stove use was not present. Illinois has the highest burden, 21.1%, followed by California 20, New York 18.8, Massachusetts 15.4, and Pennsylvania 13.5. So this makes sense based on what was stated earlier. There still appears to be a connection. Texas and Colorado and Ohio all experience burdens around 10%, and Florida has the lowest burden, 3%. Um, Illinois has 79.1% of households with children cook with gas, whereas Florida, it's only 9.1%. So that makes that makes sense why there would be more asthma in Illinois because those small gas stoves. And then there was a chart showing the population attributable fraction of childhood asthma associated with gas stove use in the United States. Um, and they said that they looked at peer reviewed effect sizes. Um, and then they're saying that the burden is attributable. At, it's similar to secondhand smoke, and and they're saying that it should be considered in multifaceted asthma prevention approaches. Um, yeah, so that's where there was a study in the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health, and that's why a lot of people are talking about gas stoves. Um, then this isn't completely new topic. There was an article in April of 2022. Um, and then this is a CBC article. After seeing how gas stoves pollute homes, these researchers are ditching nails. Burning natural gas generates high level of nitrogen oxide linked to asthma in children. Um, and then there's more air pollutants than scientists expect. And like not, I don't think everyone uses their ventilation correctly. Um, so those things like that. And then there was a 2013 analysis. Children living at home that use gas for cooking had a 42% increase of having asthma. And then there was a study um, that said that cooking the lot with cooking with gas stoves, nitrogen oxide pollutants sometimes exceeded Health Canada guidelines for 1 hour of exposure, and the pollutants lingered for a couple of hours. So this means people that are in restaurants have a risk of asthma likely. There's a lot of restaurants that use gas appliances. Um, there was a report that found that gas stoves leak unexpectedly high levels of methane, which is worse than carbon dioxide. Um, and then those a Vancouver family physician, the Canadian Association of Physicians for the Environment. ran a campaign in 2021 highlighting the negative health impacts of natural gas, including those linked to pollution from natural gas extraction, um, climate change caused by leaking methane, and/or air pollution from cooking with natural gas. Um, and then there was a 2015 Health Canada issued residential air quality guidelines for nitrogen dioxide. Um, and then there was a quote, most gas ranges in Canada do not even come close to meeting these air quality standards. And research shows that this can harm your health, like worsening asthma and cancer. Um, yeah, so there's definitely like other methods to cook. People have used electric, gas, um, electric stoves. Um, yeah, so I'll definitely look into the Canadian um, connection. So there's an article why gas stoves matter to the climate and the gas industry. Keeping them means homes will use gas for heating too. Um, if you're using gas for cooking, you're probably going to use gas for heating your home. Um, um, so yeah, there's memo of the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission was talking to Bloomberg News, and then they talked about regulating gas stoves. Um, and then there's a lot of overheated rhetoric. Um, and the and it's saying that like gas stoves account for 0.1% of U.S. greenhouse gas emissions. I think they took that from the climate change inventory that every country is required to make. Um, and they burn 3% of natural gas consumed in homes. And this is from the conversation. But they reduce the chance of electrification for homes. Uh, um, and natural gas is harder to decarbonize than electricity. Um, so yeah, so after this article from the 12 stall, I'll look up the Canadian physicians for the environment because they talked about um, um, this. Um, so there's an article in the Toronto Star, the burning truth behind gas stoves, and how it fanned the flames of a cultural war. Uh, and this was posted on January 21st, 2023. Um, so, like people have been protesting, like you have to take my gas stove. from my um, from my cold hands. So they don't want to give it up. And a lot of chefs have been claiming that they can't, like, it's a battle cook. Um, it's saying that there's been studies for decades linking increased risk of childhood asthma with having a gas stove. That's interesting, um, because it's only recently that those public outrage. Um, and then it varies between 12 and 42%. Um, 2005, the World Health Organization put out guidelines limiting exposure to nitrogen dioxide. Um, and then the US Environmental Protection Agency conducted its own research, has not published indoor air quality regulations. In 2015, Canada revised its residential air quality guidelines, cutting the previous short-term exposure limits by almost two-thirds. And they said that 25% of homes with gas stoves would exceed the limit for brief periods of time after cooking, even with moderate ventilation. Um, and not everyone puts the ventilation fan on when they're cooking, and you definitely should. Um, and then, of course, like, the natural gas industry is countering these claims. Um, that sounds familiar to, like, when the cigarette industry uh, uh, challenged claims about the health impacts of cigarettes. Um, okay, yeah, so it should be one on the highest setting during and after cooking. Um, yeah, so, like, you actually have to use the ventilation system when you're cooking. Cooks should only use the back burners and should open a window or door while the stove is in operation. And this is from the Canadian Gas Association. Yeah, and people don't, and Dr. Samantha Green, president-elect of the Canadian Association of Physicians for the Environment, pointed out that people don't often follow these practices in the real world. And then that they have to be used perfectly in order to be safe. Um, and the companies are aware of that. Um, and then, yeah, it's January now, or you want to open up a window when it's like -10, -40. Um, 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 oh, there's this YouTube. Oh, and then there's a climate change collection. Yeah, a lot of people pointed out the role that gas stoves play in climate change. And yeah, natural gas is actually a marketing term. It's actually methane. which is worse than carbon dioxide. And it's this is saying 86 times more warming than carbon dioxide, according to the Environment and Climate Change Canada. Um, and then in Canada, Natural Resources Canada in 2019, they made 0.8% of total residential emissions. Um, but that's not including restaurant uh, emissions from stoves. Natural gas furnaces account for 60% of all household emissions. And it's only counting when the elements are on. Oh, and then those leaks apparently in the pipes. So there's extra emissions even when your oven is not on. Um, yeah. So yeah, those definitely move. So I'll look at what the Canadian Association of Physicians for the Environment say, and they have an acronym called CAP. Uh, so, oh, I'm going to go to this gas stoves. Um, so those in 2001. So in terms of like Canadian impact, 2001 there was a call from British Columbia doctors um, raising the alarm about natural gas. Um, I think those stove. Okay. Um, yeah. So Dr. Deborah Coy, BC CAP member and Victoria family physician, is concerned about the additional risks of gas stove posing to indoor air quality. Natural gas kitchen appliances emit nitrogen dioxide, which can pollute indoor air and exacerbate asthma attacks in children. Adding this to climate change induced wildfire smoke is a recipe for poor lung health. And some of this repeats what I've said, um, or what other articles have said. Um, and then they're recommending natural gas hookups should be banned in all new buildings by 2023, with buildings in the north given until 2025 to comply. Um, And they're saying that the government should end all fossil fuel subsidies as defined by the World Trade Organization, including direct spending, tax breaks, transfer of risk, and public finance. Yeah, so gas, stove, and then I can look at, I can move this. I can look at just Canadian news. Oh, where does it say Canada country? Gas stove Canadian. There's a national observer talking about gas stoves. Oh, U.S. Okay, this is from CTV. U.S. considers gas stove ban due to hidden hazard. Will Canada follow? Um, um, so according to Health Canada, all cooking, regardless of this is a quote of energy source, natural gas, propane, or electric, creates airborne emissions. Health Canada recommends proper ventilation as the most effective measure to mitigate cooking emissions. The use of hood vent can help reduce the airborne emissions by 80%. So there's a lot of quotes from the American Gas Association and the Canadian Gas Association. Health Canada told CTV News, Health Canada has a place. It has in place a robust legislative frameworks to protect the public from unsafe consumer products. The Canada Consumer Product Safety Act prohibits the manufacture, importation, advertisement, or sale of any consumer product that is in danger to human health or safety. End quote. Manufacturers have the responsibility to ensure that their product is safe and comply with all mandatory requirements of the Act. End quote. I was still in a quote. And then Health Canada has conducted studies to assess the level of pollutants derived from the use of gas cooks top stoves. This information was used to develop Health Canada's residential indoor air quality guidelines, which provide the public with information on safe levels of and air pollutants in residential settings. End quote. Um, and then there's a 2021 fact sheet. Yeah, and then so like so I talked about like climate change, how that could be a negative impact if people don't take their gas stoves. But there's also, if there's a connection between health and natural gas, a lot of people are heating their home with natural gas. So, is there a connection with home heating and natural gas? That's a question that's worth exploring. But also, why does it take so long between a health impact at being identified and a product being banned? Um, so I do think that like a lot of the opposition to getting rid of gas stoves or um, exaggerated. It probably is time to get rid of the gas stove for health reasons, but also addressing climate change. Every action does help, um, even if it's even if it's small. And yeah, thank you for listening. I'm just going to stop my share. And I will be back with a new video.